Aqui se encontramos na ilha do Havai, a ilha de Hawaii. Aqui neste local onde eu estou vai ser construído um centro comunitário português que vai ter o nome por o título Saudade. O que é que isto quer dizer? Uma palavra única, uma palavra muito portuguesa, muito nossa, e para conhecermos melhor sobre tudo, vamos ter a oportunidade de conversar com eles para percebermos um pouco melhor do que aqui se vai fazer. Your name?
Marlene.
Yours?
Archie Hapai three.
Marlene Hapai III, right?
Well, I would say Marlene Andrade de Silva Nakbar Hapai.
Just likely a Portuguese name,
Yes.
so many,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
You're Portuguese, right?
I'm half Portuguese and half German. My mother is from Hawaii, and I would be the fourth generation of family from a combination of Madeira and the Azores to be here.
Which island from the Azores?
San Miguel,
Village,
Ponta Garça.
Ponta Garça. Have you had the opportunity to visit Ponta Garça?
Yes, we had the opportunity to go and visit the home and the church that my great-great-grandparents came from. And it was quite interesting, especially the home, because you could see that they just left. Even the wine was still the stains in the glasses, and, they just left.
So you're basically fourth generation
Yes.
in Hawaii.
In Hawaii, yes.
And we're talking to somebody that it's not fully Portuguese, but heart-wise, you are, right?
I certainly am. I am Portuguese in spirit. Yes.
And can you tell me about your backgrounds?
Oh, yes. I am seventh generation related to the King Kamehameha the Great from the 1790s. My Chinese heritage side would have come from Canton, China, around the Pearl River in 1825 to a place called Kohala. That is about 80 miles from here. The Japanese would have come from the 1890s, and the Irish would have come in the 1830s. So I am by ethnicity Hawaiian, native Hawaiian, Japanese from Japan, Chinese from the Pearl River, and Irish from Ireland, from Londonderry, 1830.
Yes, and our shirt says "A New Life, a New Land, Destination Hawaii," and we had these shirts made on the 40th anniversary, which would have been September 30th, 1878, when the first Portuguese families arrived from Madeira on the Priscilla, the ship Priscilla. There were Portuguese here already, but just a few. Whalers, King Kalakaua's private physician was a Dr. Castro. So there were Portuguese here, but no Portuguese families.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So in 1878,
Yes.
we have records the first Portuguese families coming to Hawaii. We're talking about this island, the big island of Hawaii.
Okay. Actually, we're talking about the entire, it would have been the territory of Hawaii at the time. Actually, no, the kingdom of Hawaii at the time. And between the years of 1878 and 1913, 25,000 Portuguese immigrated, or I should say emigrated, with intentions to stay in Hawaii. And they would have gone, the ships would have arrived on Oahu, where they had the port, and then the various families would have been dispersed throughout the kingdom, and then the kingdom at the time throughout all the major islands. So we had just been to the Azores, and we happened to have a guide, and on one of the guides was a picture, and this was from Fayal, the island of Fayal, and it was a picture of the guitar with two hearts on it, umbilical cord and the teardrop, and it talked about saudade. And when we saw that, we said, this is it. And actually, that is part of our logo. And I'm just trying to think that it's called a tiara, and I can't think of the word, but that particular guitar. And so we called it saudade. And then this property that we're on actually was donated in 2007 for the purpose of building a center. And then it just kind of sat for a while, and for quite a while, till 2016. And that's when we really got busy doing fundraising to start building the center.
So what's your responsibility? What's your title in all this?
Okay, well, my title is, and both of us have titles, I'm President and Executive Director for the Hawaii Island Portuguese Chamber of Commerce Cultural and Educational Center, also more simply known or short for Saudade. And once again, Saudade, the longing, because it was bittersweet when our people came to Hawaii, the bitter having to leave their family, their friends, knowing they'd never see them again. But the sweet part was most of them were impoverished at the time, and they had a chance to have a new beginning, a new life. And so we want to really honor those that came before us. And the whole idea for the center is, and actually for the Chamber of Commerce, is to preserve and share and document the Portuguese culture before it's lost, because it's being lost.
Do we have any idea how many Portuguese descent it exists in Hawaii?
Pure Portuguese, we don't have that many left. But as I mentioned earlier today when we were talking, our children have 11 different ethnicities. And one of the people you're going to talk to, she actually was teaching a class, and she asked the kids to go home and ask their parents how many of them had Portuguese. And the next day, 75% of the class had some Portuguese.
Which is fascinating, right?
Yes.
So you're the actual president now, right?
Elected president of the Hawaii Island Portuguese Chamber of Commerce.
And you're not Portuguese, but you're so very proud to be part of a wife that is Portuguese, and you're Portuguese at heart, right?
Yes, that I am. Only because we have had 51 years together, married.
51.
51.
Congratulations.
And we have been to Madeira and for Azores 3-4 times, and to visit the family where she has come from. And I have documented my heritage, so I would like to see the opportunity for my wife to have this background.
And have you gone to your background, to your country that your ancestors came from?
Yes, certainly, yes. All of them.
All of them?
To China, and to Japan, and to Ireland. And, well, I'm here in Hawaii. My relatives have come right from here.
And you also owners of a restaurant locally, right?
Yes, actually we have the Andrade building in Honoka'a, which I later learned our little town is called Little Portugal, and we have 7 Portuguese buildings in this small town, and I know you'll be visiting it soon. And so ours is the Andrade building, which was built in 1924 by my grandparents, and it'll be 100 years old next year. And 3 years ago, after some tenants with a restaurant moved out, I said, it's time to bring Vovô, or Grandma's restaurant, back. So we have Andrade's Honoka'a Cafe.
Fantastic. On this center right here, what's going to be?
Okay, we're going to have a center that, well, originally we had a dream of a big one. Now it's a little smaller, but it's okay. It's about 3,000 square feet undercover. Some of it roof extended so we can do outside activities and other things. But there is a story for the center, and it's 3 things, 3 focuses. Explorations, and we'll have one room dedicated to the explorations of the Portuguese during the golden years of discoveries, because we want the local Portuguese to have pride in their culture. They don't even know their culture, and I shouldn't say that, but many of them don't have an idea where they come from. And so explorations is one theme. The second theme is immigration. So these 21 voyages, to have the last names of the families on the walls with little quotes from the ship logs and pictures of the ships. So when people come in that don't know anything about their families, they say, oh, there it is, Aguiar or Andrade or whatever. And then they can go to our archive room on the computer, link in, and find more information on their family. So that's the immigration. So we want to document that. And then lastly, assimilation. because of the, how the Portuguese have fit in and have really helped Hawaii become what it is today. And we're really proud of that. We have made major contributions. So that will be the wall of assimilation. So those are the three. And then on the property, the Portuguese are also noted for their beautiful gardens and landscaping. So we're going to dedicate the gardens to the donor of the property, Frank de Luz III. And just, this is a cultural and educational center, not a museum. We're not going to collect items. If anything, if we have exhibits, if we have things come in,
Exactly.
We'll take pictures, we'll put it in the computer, and then people can take their beautiful things home. But otherwise, it's going to be an active thing. And one very special thing, we're going to have electronic family reunions between the Portuguese in Hawaii and Portuguese all over the world. So, for example, our relatives in the Azores, when we open, we'll have our family here in the center, they'll have their family there, and we'll have a reunion which still today people cannot afford, for everybody to come. So that's one of the
As
things.
well as the relatives that are in Macau or Angola.
Oh, fantastic. Can you describe a little bit the location of this center?
We are in the city of Hilo. That would be about the 20 degrees north latitude. And our longitude would be about 155 degrees west. So we're in the Pacific Ocean.
Population-wise, is this the area that has the most people?
Okay, as far as population, Hilo used to be the most populated. Now it's the Puna area, which is really close. But still, this is the center of business and government for this particular island. But this particular site is at 670 Puna Hawaii Street. And we're right across the center from the medical center at the intersection of Komohana and Puna, Hawaii. So, and it will be on the map as soon as we get it built, which we're hoping to start site work, and that's why it's kind of cleared already, sometime this year, and have the building up by next year. And that would be wonderful, and we do have... Yeah.
The goal to have it done is next year?
Yes, by
Wow,
next year.
so this whole thing, it's empty right now.
Yes.
So we'll be done in a year.
That's what we're trying to work on. So
What do you think the cost will be?
Well, we're trying to keep it down to under $2 million, and that's our goal, to keep it under that. Yeah.
And most of the money came from donations or anything else?
Okay, where did the money come from? Originally, it came from the state of Hawaii. So the state of Hawaii, the legislators have been very, very generous to us. And but while they were giving us grants, we wrote our first grant in 2016 and got $1 million. But it's been a long haul since that first million, and little by little. But we've managed to get over 400,000 from our community, and that's just in dollars. But I would say in donated services, a lot of professional services, almost $1 million already to this point. So we've had a lot of contributions, but it's the money that gets the things built. So that's what we have to finish up.
No doubt, no doubt. Fourth generation. And you're doing all this. What's the reason?
Well, I think it kind of started with my mother and my grandmother with our building in Honoka'a, because as time goes by, people want to just sell, and my grandmother didn't want to sell, and my mother didn't want to sell, but the other relatives wanted to sell, and so my mom and her sisters all passed away within 10 months, and suddenly 4 different families, the next generation, were looking at each other. And I said, hey, we're not that old. We don't have to sell. And then I think that kind of, actually, if you were able to see our restaurant, it's almost a little Portuguese center, because we have old pictures and whatever. But that, and also I was the director that built the Imiloa Astronomy Center. The two things, once, I'm in the sciences. I had worked in the sciences, I'd gotten all this experience. Now I'm back in my culture that I wanted to preserve, and when the opportunity came about, that we had the land. We just needed somebody to get the thing going. It was just so natural. It came together.
But you're half Portuguese and half German, right? But how about the other culture?
Okay, my father's from Minnesota, but I only spent 3 years of my life in Minnesota. My mother said, I want to go back to Hawaii, and so I was born here, and I would say I spent the majority of my life here. So by culture, I was Portuguese. Yeah, Portuguese culture. So the German culture, I didn't have that much time to really, know them as well as my Portuguese side.
As you probably know, so that there's no translation, right? What does it mean to you?
My mother used to use it, and she used it in a way of, I have saudade, I have a craving for something. And that's more how she used it. But I think, she it's too bad she's not still alive, because she would have a greater appreciation. When we started working on this center, and, Archie and I went many places. We even went to the British Maritime Museum to find pictures of the old ships. But so we were doing our research, and like I say, when we came upon the picture and the description, and we said, that's what this is all about, because that's what they were feeling, and that's what we should be passing on, this very important feeling.
There's different organizations that represent the Portuguese in this island, but since this island is so big, do you have a lot of support from other places in Hawaii?
Okay, let's talk just about this island first. When we started working on the 140th anniversary 5 years ago, literally 5 years ago, there were organizations, but there was really no tie of them together. Yes. And then said, okay, we're going to have this celebration. So we reached out to the Hamakua people, which would be 40 miles north. We reached out to the Ka'u people, which would be 55 miles south. Reached out to the Kona people, 110 miles around. And we started bringing people together. And because it was an anniversary really for all the islands of Hawaii, we started reaching out to Maui, to Oahu, to Kauai, so that when the celebration actually occurred, everyone was celebrating in some way. We had a big one here. We had the Portugal Consul General come. We blessed this site 5 years ago, and I would say that was the beginning of the Portuguese community starting to recognize each other. We were there, but not recognizing each other. So now we do, when we have events now, they come from Honoka, Kona, Ka'u.
Which is fantastic. Yeah. If you go around the island, I'm pretty sure there's places that represent the Portuguese, like Frank's Portuguese sausage, right?
Okay, Frank's Foods. Now this is a German family, but you said he's half Portuguese, right?
The children are.
Okay, okay. So, but yes, he makes Portuguese sausage, and
then we have a park right by here that's called
Cavallo Park. And what's
Gilbert
Cavallo Park.
Okay. And what was that park? Honor of what?
Okay, it's in honor of Gilbert Cavallo, who was an outstanding baseball player and died, I think, when he was only 21. But there's a whole monument on his behalf at that park telling all about his life. And so they named the park, and it's been that way for a long time.
And then you have symbols like that all over, right? The island?
Yes.
Grandmother.
Well, okay, yes.
Grandmother,
okay.
Andrade Rose.
Yes. Actually, in my hometown, and I think this is the only one in the whole state, they have named a $3 million rodeo stadium after my grandmother. So it's the Rose Andrade Correa Stadium.
Oh, wow.
And that's because in the 1950s, she gave the property to the county because the military guys, young military guys, and our young local cowboys were challenging each other in very unsafe conditions. So okay. Mama at the time said, hey, this has got to change. Donated the property. They put together a little arena. And then 60 years later, they built a $3 million facility and named it after Grandma Rose.
Continue to do what you're doing, both of you, especially you not being Portuguese, but married to somebody for 51 years kind of brought you into the culture. And a lot of success, especially for the building that's coming up to here and everything else you do in name of the culture.
Thank you. And I think one last thing, and then as we look down to Hilo Bay, which is why we have held on to this property. The Portuguese came by ship, and what we're hoping when we open our center is that the Portuguese naval training vessel, the Sagres, will come into port. So that's what we're going to try and accomplish. We'll see.
Wow. And this property was given by?
Frank Deleuze III, who was a county councilman and the chair of the county council. And he gave it to the Portuguese Chamber in 2007. And so it's time we get the center built. That's what he gave it for.
And then was he related to Portuguese?
Oh, yes. He was. Yes, and a very, very successful rancher as well as businessman, and with lots of properties, and he gave us the best piece.
And then a lot of Portuguese are really involved with rodeo here in this island, right?
Yes, yes, very much so. Yeah, I have an uncle that's in the Paniolo Hall of Fame, Cowboy Hall of Fame, and Archie, tell him.
Briefly, back in the last century, in the 1908, my grandmother's older brother was a world-famous cowboy roper, and so he's put in the Hall of Fame, the very first class of Hall of Fame in Wyoming, in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The Purdy's, part of the Irish from Camuela.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. We say aloha from
Aloha.
the Hapais.
Aloha.
Dr. Hapai.
Yes.
Aloha. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigada. And we look forward to you coming again when we have our center built.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Obrigada.